Haters gonna hate, but they can't deny the fact that what President Trump is doing is working, because inflation numbers came in today, and the numbers are the lowest they've been since 2021. The report was released this morning, Tuesday, May 13th, by the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, and it shows that inflation is at 2.3%. It also shows that gas is down 11.8% from last year, fuel oil down 9.6%, airfare down 7.9%, propane, firewood, public transportation down 5.6%, energy down 3.7%, major appliances down 3.6%, fresh veggies down 2.9%, hotels down 2.3%, car rentals down 2.1%, and non-prescriptions down 1.1%. And we know that number is going to continue to plummet with the executive order that President Trump signed yesterday. This is big news because this surpassed anybody's expectations, and we are expected to see the numbers to continue to drop. So what do you think about all of this? As always, let me know down below.
Greetings and welcome back to Wolf Kage Los Angeles. Today we need to talk about something that hits every single one of us right where it matters most: the cost of living. Yeah, I'm talking about inflation. Now, if you've been listening to the mainstream media, things like The View, CNN, MSNBC, you think the sky is still falling. They've been pushing fear. They've been pushing confusion. They've been pushing a narrative that simply doesn't hold up anymore. But here's the twist. They didn't see this coming. Inflation is actually down. Not just a little. We're talking significantly down, lower than it's been in years. Surprised? You're not alone. And guess who's at the center of this turnaround? President Trump. That's right. Despite what the liberal media hoped, and yes, I said hoped, the numbers don't lie. According to the latest Consumer Price Index data, prices have cooled down across multiple sectors. Gasoline, down. Fuel, oil, down. Airfares, public transit, major appliances, all trending downward. Let's pause on that for a second. When was the last time you heard good news at the gas pump? For most of us, it's been years. In fact, the last time we saw comparable price dips across this many categories was during the energy boom of the late 2010s, when deregulation and domestic drilling were in full swing. And guess what? Back then, Trump was in office too. Now, I'm not here to tell you everything's perfect. We still got a long road ahead of us. But when the media refuses to even acknowledge that there's been a positive shift, that's when you know the spin is more important to them than the facts. Why can't they just tell the American people the truth? The news. Why does everything have to be wrapped in ideology and bias? It's wild. This isn't journalism. These people are participating in propaganda, and the American public is catching on. People are tired of being manipulated by headlines designed to invoke panic and not to inform. Let me be clear. Inflation cooling off is a big deal. It's a big deal for working families, for small business owners, for seniors on fixed income. This is the kind of economic breathing room that we've needed. It means groceries get a little cheaper. Utility bills shrink. Maybe, just maybe, you don't have to swipe that credit card as much this month. And when you look at the broader picture, historically, inflation has been one of the most stubborn economic challenges to tame. In the 1970s, we had stagnation. We had high prices. We had slow growth, rising unemployment. It nearly wrecked the middle class. Today, we're seeing signs that the storm may be finally clearing.
Rick Santelli is ready with the CPI number at the CME. Rick, what's going on?
Yes, here we go. These are April read on the Consumer Price Index, arguably one of the most important metrics at this point in time. Up 0.2 on headline, and that is a tenth lighter than expected. And do remember, in the rearview mirror, at least up to now unrevised, that minus 0.1 was a 5-year low. Let's strip out food and energy. Up 0.2, also 1/10 light to expectations, and it follows up 1/10, which was a 4-year low. low. Let's take a broader view. Move year over year on headline. 2.3. Yes, you guessed it. 1/10 lighter than expectations. 1/10 lighter than the rear view mirror. And it also now represents a fresh 4-year low because it's lower than our last look, sequentially lower. And finally, year over year, ex-food and energy, known as core, comes in at 2.8. That equals expectations, equals our last look, and equals the fact that it's a 4-year low. Now, I like doing the indices. This is a CPI index. It goes all the way back to 1913. Comes in at 320.795, a new all-time high. Pretty much happens every month. The index itself makes new highs. And if we look at core, which started in 1957, it comes in at 326.43, and you guessed it, another all-time forever high. We see that yields are moving down a bit because we have made progress. What the irony here is the rear view mirror, those rates were so much smaller 4 to 5 years in those interim periods at a time where the renewed Fed look on inflation due to potentially tariffs. We went a year and a half, Joe, where we really made no progress, but yet the Fed seemed to pretend we did. Now we're making real progress, and all anyone could talk about is inflation, inflation, inflation. Back to you.
Now look, to anyone who is fair-minded, to anyone who is objective, to anyone that's not caught up in partisan hysteria, this is great news. Seriously, the numbers don't lie. And they're telling a story that the mainstream media does not want to read aloud. Thanks to the policy foundations laid by President Donald Trump, whether the media likes it or not, we're now seeing clear signs that inflation is cooling. In April, consumer prices rose by just 2% over the last 12 months. That's right, just 2%. And that's below what so-called experts even predicted. Many of them expected worse. And now they're either scrambling for excuses or pretending this didn't happen at all. Some are downright flabbergasted, others furious. And not because inflation is easing, but because that easing might make Trump look good. Come on, guys. Let that sink in for a second. We've got people so afflicted by Trump derangement syndrome, and yes, it is real. Whatever you want to call that mindset, these people would rather see the economy crash than admit something is working under his influence. That's not just sad, though. That's dangerous. Let's break this down a little bit more. Over the last 12 months, from April to April, prices are up just 2.3%. That's the smallest annual increase in 4 years. You heard that right. The lowest since the COVID pandemic flipped everything upside down. That's progress. And if your focus is on the essentials, food and energy, we're looking at a 2.8% increase. That's still well within the range that economists consider stable and sustainable. It's not runaway inflation. It's not crisis mode. Right now, everything is manageable. Now, sure, prices are still rising a bit each month. We're not pretending we're back to 1999 levels, no. But here's the key. The rate of the increase is what really matters. Think of it like this. The car is still moving forward, but we've taken our foot off the gas. We're slowing down. And that's what everyone's been hoping for. Let me put that in technical terms. The CPI, which is the broadest measure of inflation, is still hitting all-time highs. But those increases are flattening out. That's exactly what economists call a disinflationary trend. It means things are not getting cheaper, but they're not getting more expensive as fast as before. And here's the bonus effect. Because inflation is cooling, the Federal Reserve is no longer under pressure to keep interest rates sky high. In fact, they've already hinted at potential rate cuts if this trend continues. Lower interest rates mean easier access to credit, better mortgage terms, and a shot in the arm for small business investment. So yes, prices are still rising, but they're doing so at a much slower pace. And that is a win. That is a step in the right direction. We're not out of the woods yet, but we're not lost anymore. And if we stay on this path, America just might be heading back towards real, lasting prosperity.
Okay, guys, this is crazy. They're literally telling them what to say. First, there were 3.
Bring prices down starting on day 1.
That ain't true. That's what you just heard. Since day one.
Oh my gosh. And then there were 5.
Inflation is getting worse. Bring prices of groceries again.
And then there were 22. Oh my gosh, these people don't have an original thought in their heads. Somebody gave them talking points and said, here, please tape this. And they did. But they got caught.
All right, now let's pivot to another story that deserves your full attention. This one hits close to home for a lot of folks, especially those working class people, the lower middle class, and yes, even families struggling to make ends meet in America's poorest communities. We're talking about immigration, but not just any immigration. We're talking about the crisis of illegal immigration and how it directly affects everyday Americans. In a major development, ICE, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, just announced the arrest of 422 illegal immigrants in Houston. That is not a small number. That is not a headline you can sweep under the rug. That's 422 individuals who, according to federal authorities, were unlawfully present in the country, and many with prior criminal records. Now, before we go any further, let me say this clearly. Legal immigration has been and always will be a part of America's story. That's not the issue. The issue here is about law and order, national security, and protecting America's most vulnerable citizens, the ones who are often forced to compete with illegal labor for jobs, housing, and healthcare. Let's talk real life impact. When illegal immigration surges, who feels it first? It's not the wealthy elite living in gated communities. No. It's the single mom in South LA, where I live, working 2 jobs. It's the truck driver in Texas, watching his wages stagnate. It's the construction worker whose hours are being undercut by off-the-books labor. According to the Center of Immigration Studies, illegal immigration costs American taxpayers upwards of $116 billion a year. That includes healthcare, that includes education, that includes law enforcement, and welfare benefits. And much of that burden falls directly on states like California, Texas, and Arizona, where working class families are already fighting to survive in some of the toughest economic conditions in decades. Now, here's the part that gets ignored. Every time ICE steps in to enforce the law, media pundits cry foul. They accuse agents of cruelty. They stir up fear, and they try to guilt the American public into silence. But what about the American families who are being pushed out of their own neighborhoods? What about the citizens whose voices are being drowned out? This isn't about hate. This is about order. It's about respecting the process. And most importantly, it's about protecting those who play by the rules. Those of us who work hard, who pay taxes, and want a fair shot at the American dream without being sidelined in their own country.
Right now.
So this is a Fox News alert riding along with ICE agents during a week-long operation in Texas as they arrest hundreds, and they take some of the most dangerous criminal migrants off the streets, including a convicted murderer.
Brooke Taylor is live in Houston with the details. Hey, Brooke.
Hi, guys. Yeah, we joined ICE on this exclusive week-long operation. In total, they arrested 422 illegal migrants. The majority had criminal convictions or pending criminal convictions. So we're talking everything from murder, aggravated assault to sexual assault of a child.
21 plus years for murder in Colombia. He was involved in a lot of organized crime in Colombia.
ICE officers pull up and arrest this illegal migrant who, according to ICE, is a convicted murderer from Colombia. He was caught by Border Patrol last year, then released under the Biden administration's catch and release policies. And watch this, a twice deported illegal migrant from Mexico. He tried to flee in his car, then make a run for it before he was captured and eventually arrested. According to ICE, he has multiple convictions in the U.S., including arson, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, and DWI.
This is a week-long operation where we really flood the zone with additional resources from all these agencies and come together to try and make the biggest impact and get as many of these folks off the streets as we possibly can.
And more than 200 of the illegal migrants arrested during this operation had final orders of removal, including this 36-year-old criminal migrant from El Salvador. ICE is speeding up that removal process, so this is new. Fox got an exclusive look at 80 detainees boarding this plane to the El Paso hub. So instead of bringing them to detention centers, taking up that limited space, illegal migrants with final orders of removal, they are being transferred to these hub locations immediately so that they could be quickly deported to their home countries.
We can arrest the individual this morning, process him this afternoon, and have him on a removal flight this evening, same day, saving taxpayer costs and just making it a more efficient and expedited process to get these folks out of the country.
And meanwhile, at the southern border, CBP just released those monthly numbers yesterday. And according to those numbers, it just continues to stay significantly down at the southern border. Apprehensions right now about 90% lower right now than this time frame last year, guys.
I mean, just great job out there, Brooke. I've been hearing from some of the guys of all the locations you've been going, and you've just been crushing it out there. These people will just roam in the country, and it has totally changed with this new administration. Great job.
I can't believe that there's so many of them who were arrested at one time. Thank you, Brooke. Excellent.
Now, much like his first presidency, Donald Trump is still shaking and moving, as you can see. He's not waiting for permission. He's not asking for applause. He's just doing what he does best, making deals, building alliances, and getting things done, and doing it fast. Now, while others are campaigning or cutting ribbons at photo ops and so on and so forth on Beat the Oligarchy tours and so on, Trump is out there, boots on the ground, operating like a global CEO, moving swiftly, quietly, strategically. It's almost hard to keep up with the man, and honestly, I've never seen anything like it. Case in point, Trump recently attended a state dinner in Saudi Arabia, and this wasn't just some ceremonial show. No, this was about real diplomacy, real negotiations, real results for the American people. Now think back in 2017 during his first term when Trump made a little tour and brokered a $110 billion arms deal, the largest in U.S. history at that time. It wasn't just about military hardware, it was about reinforcing U.S. manufacturing jobs, boosting our defense industry, and strengthening our leverage in the Middle East. Fast forward to now, and what is he doing? The same thing. Advancing U.S. interests, building partnerships, and holding court with world leaders who actually respect strength. You don't get this kind of access and influence by accident. You have to earn it.
All right, thank you very much, you guys. Good afternoon. I'm Martha McCallum, and this is the story breaking right now. President Trump's extraordinary trip to Saudi Arabia. He is at a state dinner right now. You can bet that it is very elaborate based on what we saw in terms of his welcome as he begins his 4-day swing through the Middle East. The goal on this stop, $1 trillion of investment in the U.S. by the Saudis. So far, they have locked in $600 billion in terms of the commitment from Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman to invest in everything from defense to infrastructure for AI, a really big part of this trip as well. MBS has suggested that they will get to that $1 trillion mark in investment in time. President Trump given a royal welcome. Arabian stallions escorted the president's vehicle. And how about this? A custom-built mobile McDonald's truck was rolled out for the president's time in Saudi Arabia as well. You can bet he was looking forward to taking part in that. And you can hear a rendition of God Bless the USA as the president took the stage for these remarks as he heralded the growing strength of the new Middle East.
The new generation of leaders is transcending the ancient conflicts of tired divisions of the past and forging a future where the Middle East is defined by commerce, not chaos, where it exports technology, not terrorism, and where people of different nations, religions, and creeds are building cities together, not bombing each other out of existence.
Big message there in that soundbite that you just heard. Senior White House correspondent Peter Doocy following it all live from Riyadh. Hi, Peter.
And Martha, as far as Trump deals have gone since he got back to office in January, today's actually seemed like it was pretty easy. He came in on Air Force One. He talked about how he thought that $600 billion was pretty good, but that he wanted $1 trillion. And then about 4 hours later, that is exactly what the Crown Prince pledged.
In the coming months, we will work on the second phase to finalize the remaining agreement to raise them to $1 trillion.
That was easy, and it wasn't just about business deals at this business forum. President Trump talked about how he will soon drop sanctions on Syria on the sidelines of a meeting with Syria's interim president tomorrow to give that country a chance to thrive. He also said that he's going to help Saudi Arabia defend itself from Iran and its proxies, and that he's going to do his very best to make a deal with Tehran to prevent them from ever getting a nuclear weapon.
As I've shown repeatedly, I am willing to end past conflicts and forge new partnerships for a better and more stable world, even if our differences may be very profound, which obviously they are in the case of Iran. I have never believed in having permanent enemies. I am different than a lot of people think. I don't like permanent enemies, but sometimes you need enemies to do the job, and you have to do it right.
And at some point between Lee Greenwood as the opening song and The Village People as the closing song, President Trump stressed to this crowd that was a mix of half Americans and half Saudi business people that he wants to be known, he wants his legacy to be as a peacemaker in the Middle East.
So let's talk about what might go down as one of the most successful foreign trips in modern presidential history. Trump's recent visit to the Middle East, particularly Saudi Arabia, is already proven to be nothing short of monumental. Why was he there? Not for a photo op, not for symbolic handshakes. No. Trump came with a mission: bring investment back home to the United States, and he delivered. He asked Saudi leadership to invest in America infrastructure, roads, computers, defense tools, the backbone of our economy. And what happened next? The Crown Prince said yes, not just yes. He committed to $600 billion right out of the gate. Let that number sink in. $600 billion. And he didn't stop there. The Crown Prince made it clear $1 trillion is the goal. That's right. $1 trillion investment into America's future. That's not just a handshake. That's historic. The Saudis rolled out the red carpet. Literally. It was a royal welcome fit for a head of state who commands respect. You see, Trump wasn't treated like a lame duck politician. He was received like a power broker, someone who still holds influence on the world stage. And in his speech, Trump didn't mince words. He laid out a vision, not of war, but of progress. He challenged the Middle East to stop the endless conflict, stop the sectarian bloodshed, and instead start building. Invest in technology and infrastructure and innovation. Use the tools of the future, not the weapons of the past. You don't hear world leaders talk like that often. Why? Because war fills the pockets of politicians. It fattens defense contractors. It boosts the bottom line for lobbyists and insiders. But Trump? He's saying the quiet part out loud. and offering an alternative. Even Peter Doocy from Fox News said it best. The deal was lightning fast. Trump asked. A few hours later, the Saudis said yes. And that's what real respect looks like on the world stage. Trump also spoke candidly about Syria. He urged the region to stop punishing the country, to give them a chance to rebuild. And yes, he addressed Iran too, saying he wants peace, but he'll never let them get dangerous weapons. He wants to be remembered as a peacemaker, not a warmonger, not a career politician cashing in, but a leader who made the world a better, safer place, not just for America, but for everyone willing to walk the road of peace. Love him or hate him, that kind of ambition, that level of international deal-making deserves respect. I am Wolf Kage, and this has been Wolf Kage Los Angeles. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. And until the next time, peace.